Well then, I did not see that coming at all. If you aren't aware, or if you are somebody that doesn't really keep up with Assassin's Creed news on social media, Assassin's Creed Mirage, the game that released before Shadows in 2023, is officially and confirmed to be getting a story DLC that comes out later this year. Now, when I say story DLC, I don't mean, maybe 1 or 2 missions and that's it. I mean a literal story expansion that takes us to a new location entirely. As stated in this tweet, Assassin's Creed Mirage players, we have a surprise coming your way later this year. New story chapter and mission set in 9th century Al-Ula. Gameplay improvements for the base game and the new location. So that's pretty unexpected, and it's all for free. So this has been rumored for a while now. Personally, I wasn't too sure if it was real, and I didn't cover it at all, because I simply did not believe the rumors at first. But my fellow Assassin's Creed YouTuber, The Exile, who you should definitely check out, he actually covered this around 6 months ago, and personally I thought he was the first person I really saw dive into it. So big kudos to him for being ahead of the curve. Then we had Jonathan, a well-known Assassin's Creed leaker, drop a big hint on August 11th, just recently. He posted a picture of Al-Ula with the caption, "A new world awaits," which is clearly something Basim has said in Mirage's story. Now, at the time, it seemed like just a tease. But you see, 13 days later from that tweet, which is yesterday as of me making this video, the official Assassin's Creed account confirms the DLC. So yeah, clearly Jonathan has some insider information. Now let's talk about what was actually revealed, break down the concept art that they showed, as well as all the information, and give my opinions and some theories as to what to expect. But first of all, let's talk about how this DLC is even a thing, since it's for a smaller scaled Assassin's Creed game, and a lower budget one at that, especially compared to the more traditional big mainline ones. Well, the answer is simple. This DLC is entirely funded by a Saudi Arabian investment fund named Savvy Games Group, and because they are funding the entire thing, this is the reason Ubisoft Bordeaux are able to release this DLC for free, as well as also having Bordeaux develop the entire thing. Now, the more complicated answer, and the one that's definitely less innocent, is that the DLC is being made specifically to target additional content development for Mirage. If you are not aware what the Public Investment Fund is, or PIF, they are pretty much a state-run initiative aimed at diversifying Saudi Arabia's economy beyond just oil by putting money into foreign industries, with gaming being one of its largest targets. Now, the fund itself has become one of the most influential investors in the gaming industry, already holding stakes in major companies like Take-Two Interactive, Nintendo, EA, and many more. Personally, how I see this is a way of Saudi Arabia wanting to promote tourism, specifically the region of Al-Ula, since it is actually Saudi Arabia's first UNESCO World Heritage Site. So that's basically the idea. Now, I won't ignore the fact that there is quite a bit of valid controversy and concern to have with who's behind the funding, because without going too in depth and getting this video taken down, the CIA, yes, the CIA, are linked to the chairman of the PIF. And Ubisoft themselves have declined to make a comment on that. But hey, let's just hope that this doesn't affect the actual content of what's within the DLC. I just hope that Ubisoft Bordeaux are given full creative freedom to make the DLC, and are not forced to glamorize or alter certain aspects of the DLC to fit a certain viewpoint, because that would be disappointing. Now let's talk about where this DLC is set. Now, according to the official Twitter post, it's set in 9th century Al-Ula, which is a beautiful and historically strong location in Saudi Arabia. The area itself is known for its massive sandstone formations and a ton of ancient tombs, and even monuments carved into rock, making it, in my opinion, a pretty good setting for Assassin's Creed. Now, if you want to aware as to where exactly Al-Ula is in relation to where Mirage is set, which is 9th century Baghdad, it's actually quite a ways away, to be fair. In fact, if you wanted to walk there in today's day and age, that's about a 14 days walk, but of course back then it was much longer, as it was a lot different in the structure and the road travel. Now clearly, just from this alone, we can identify that this DLC is taking us very far away, and will most likely have nothing to do with what's within the base game. Now, the footage on screen is what a town called Old Town in Al-Ula currently looks like in 2025. And I don't know about you, but this gives me strong Assassin's Creed 1 vibes, especially the layout of the mud brick houses. There are also these very large rock tomb formations, and in real history, by the 9th century, these rock cut tombs had already been out of use for burial purposes for nearly 800 years. And so by the time this DLC is set to take place, these locations will be more like abandoned monuments than active sites. Now, to me, that screams first civilization sites. It's a no-brainer, right? Now, the official post also mentioned that there will be new gameplay improvements for both the base game and the DLC, and that got me thinking, what could they possibly be implementing to improve on the gameplay of a game that is running on an older version of the Anvil engine? So not the Anvil engine iteration that we see in Assassin's Creed Shadows. So first off, let's immediately take out any hopes of improved parkour, especially implementing the one we have in Shadows and putting it into Mirage. I think that's way too difficult to do, especially since both games are being run on different iterations of the same Anvil engine. That said, that doesn't mean parkour won't be improved upon. I can genuinely see them improving plenty of aspects of parkour, such as the flow of it. Basim in Mirage, let's be honest, slows down way too often when climbing or transitioning between ledges. Maybe they'll add vaulting over obstacles, better ejecting, faster climbing, even parkour descents, or hell, even a manual jump button with an actual ledge grab system. These are gameplay improvements, and ones that don't really require a ton of effort to do. Other gameplay improvements I can see them adding may perhaps have to do with social stealth. For example, perhaps they could make crowds feel more dynamic, or what I would like is a more efficient way of transitioning into a social stealth encounter, because let's be honest, the current system is way too slow. They could also maybe be adding combat tweaks like new assassination and takedown animations, perhaps even non-lethal knockout, since the animations of a non-lethal takedown does exist in the base game already, by the way, so that's a no-brainer. But for now, we have no idea what the gameplay improvements are. It's probably some quality of life changes than any actual overhauls though, but we'll find out later when the DLC is closer to release. Now, the last thing I want to do is break down the concept art that was released with the official tweet, because it contains some pretty interesting information. Now, first off, in the concept art, we can see an eagle. That's most likely in Kidu, right? But then again, if that's the case and that is in Kidu, then this would mean the DLC would be set before the main story has ended. Because spoilers, by the way, in 3, 2, 1. Basim at the end of Mirage is not with Enkidu anymore, since he transitions into Loki, as Enkidu senses the change and attacks Basim's face in rejection, and in Valhalla, Basim does not have Enkidu with him anymore. So clearly this DLC is taking place during the main game, especially if the concept art has Enkidu within it. We could also see, of course, Basim here walking through Al-Ula. Now, interestingly, there's a few things to notice here. First of all, the outfit that Basim is wearing, in my opinion, is not his master assassin outfit, and this appears to me to be his initiate outfit. So again, based on that alone, especially with Enkidu flying in the sky, this points to it being set sometime during the main story. When that is, we don't know. He's also holding a talisman of some sort. Now, another reason why I think that this is set during the base game and not after the ending is because look at the talisman. That talisman is the same one that is stitched onto Basim's initiate outfit and also on his outfit when he was a young street thief. Or perhaps it's a brooch, so that's quite interesting. Now, this brooch actually has an important story behind it, as it relates to Basim's father. You see, his father was an architect, and he designed their childhood house. And when Basim's father was exiled, Basim took a ceramic tile from the house and turned it into this brooch to remember his father and where he came from. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like that could play a very important part in this DLC, and we cannot overlook it. What if all this time the talisman wasn't a design choice, but instead it actually meant something of importance, and something of importance related to his father? And the way he's holding it in the concept art to me looks very deliberate, as if he's being guided by it. Maybe it's to an ezio related object. And then why is he following a mysterious individual walking ahead of him? Is that Basim's father? Is that an illusion? We don't know. Or maybe it's somebody he's stalking as a target. Who knows? We could also see a mysterious entrance to a rock formation on the side here. So clearly these will be explorable. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I can see this being tied to the first civilization. Oh, and this one might be a stretch, but is it me or is that a window? Or did the concept art artist just decide to draw perfectly rectangle openings on the side of this big rock formation for no reason at all? We also see a herd of camels roaming by with a bunch of people, but I think that's not of importance and just shows us the type of setting this is. Now, I do want to also mention the Animus Hub. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because at the start of Assassin's Creed Shadows, when you boot the game up for the very first time, you are very briefly presented with this screen. Now, this could perhaps be Al-Ula, or an entirely different setting. It's hard to know because, deserts all look the same, but this is something interesting to note. So was this DLC planned years beforehand, or is it just a coincidence that the Animus Hub introduction looks the exact same as the concept art, and it's just another desert? There is a lot of speculation right now, but personally I'm very interested in the DLC, even though I wasn't really much of a fan of Mirage's story in general. But I do think when it comes to DLC, I think Assassin's Creed has always had pretty good DLCs, and most of the time, they are actually better than the base game story. I do look forward to seeing the new setting of Al-Ula, and hopefully it's faithfully restored to a beautifully detailed city of what it was like back then in the 9th century. But I do have high hopes for that because Ubisoft, when it comes to Assassin's Creed cities and towns and villages, have always got it pretty much nailed on. The problem has always been what's within them, so we'll just have to wait and see. Now, when do I think this DLC will release? Well, personally, I can see it being a late October, maybe early November release, and that makes a lot of sense. It's enough time for Close of Awaji, but it's also not too late into the year where it falls into late November or December. But that's just pure speculation. We'll just have to wait and see. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down below on the DLC. Are you excited or surprised, or do you not care? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.